Every year you should be taking up more square footage. Every year you should be trying to put in a bigger rack. Every year you should be trying to expand your product mix. So same-store growth is so important in wholesale. First of all, getting into a store in the first place is difficult. You all know that. Closing your first account is very, very difficult. And once you're in there, that store only has a set amount of floor space. So it's really important that one of your goals or metrics as you are growing your sales is same-store growth. Every year you should be taking up more square footage. Every year you should be trying to put in a bigger rack. Every year you should be trying to expand your product mix. Maybe they only had accessories and now maybe you can move into your footwear and then move into your apparel. And over time you can take up more and more of the rack space or the wall if you're sitting on a slat wall. But it's really important to concentrate on same-store growth, even over opening new accounts. So average order value is important because it shows that those customers are trusting you even more. Their first order may be pretty small. They might be testing your product. They might be testing how your product resonates with their shoppers. But as you can increase your average order value, again, it's the same level of effort to open that shop. It's the same level of effort to ship a $1,000 order to them or a $3,000 order to them. It's the same level of effort to put in a $1,000 order or a $3,000 order into the system. So the larger you can create that average order value, the more profit and the more margin you're gonna be able to have from each one. It also really shows your brand that customer trusts you, they trust the product mix, they trust what the rep is selling them and advising them to put in their store. And that will continue the sequence of them increasing their average order value as you move through the season, the year, and then year over year. Something else that's really important in sales, any sales really, is retention and churn. It costs so much money to open an account. Your customer acquisition cost is something you really should be looking at in wholesale. And we find that a lot of wholesale brands that are pretty well established and are pretty mature, they are not looking at their customer acquisition cost. It's really interesting to find in wholesale that the customer acquisition cost is usually the cost of the trade show or the cost of some marketing. But it is really difficult to open a new wholesale account. So once you have that account, you really need to keep them. You need to continue to ship them, you need to continue to grow their floor space, and you need to continue to offer them new, exciting product. That may mean doing what some of our brands do and taking full returns. I worked with a brand once, it was a really interesting thing that they did, but they would allow a shop to return an entire order, an entire subset of products of whatever they bought. But the caveat to that return was that they could ship them what they thought would sell, and if it didn't sell, they would take the return again. So it was really cool what they did. So instead of losing that floor space, let's just say they had, 6 feet of floor space, they would allow that retail location to ship back the product, and then they would refill it with something that they knew would do well. Maybe it's their top sellers that store didn't purchase. Maybe it's a restock of other items. Maybe now they have a pulse on their top sellers, but they were able to replace the same floor space with the same terms. So they were taking a risk there and with the same opportunity to continually fill that floor space. And that way they knew they were never going to turn that over to somebody else and they would never have that churned customer.